All right, my guest today is Alex Hutchinson from Typhoon Studios in Montreal. Let's give it up for Mr. Alex Hutchinson. Now, Alex, you've got a game that's coming out next year. It's called Journey to a Savage Planet. Let's find out about that first of all. Tell us what the concept is for this new game that you're working on.
Yeah, we like to think of it as an earnest comedy where it's a sort of a throwback adventure story where you've been sent off Earth by Kindred Aerospace, who are the fourth best interstellar space exploration company. So they sent you out there with a lot of hope and not a lot of equipment, and you've landed on a crazy alien world, and your job is to sort of be a combination of a biologist, an explorer, a scientist, and a survivalist, and figure out what's going on in this planet and if it's a possible future home for human settlement.
That's awesome. Now, Typhoon is a new studio that you guys have launched in Montreal, but it's a bunch of you guys that have come from really big studios. Give us a breakdown on, some of the companies and some of the projects that you and your colleagues have worked on.
For me, I spent a lot of time in, what we colloquially called the AAA business. So I was most recently a creative director at Ubisoft here in Montreal. So I directed Far Cry 4 and Assassin's Creed 3. And we took a lot of the open world learnings from those and we're applying them to a much smaller concept in Journey to the Savage Planet, but trying to, pick up and extend some of the ideas we had there. Before that, I worked with my co-founder, Ree Schneider, on Army to the 40th Day at EA as a creative director.
Yep.
And before that, way back in the mist of time, I was a lead designer at Maxis in California on games like Spore, a lot of the Sims console games.
Wow.
And even before that, I was making Game Boy games back in Australia, in a very small studio called Taurus Games in a strip mall 2 hours out of town. So we've been doing this a long time.
In a strip mall 2 hours out of town. That's fantastic.
It was a beautiful commute. I tell you what, they sold me the games industry, and it lived up to its potential.
Well, you've made games all over the world. You've lived in Australia and worked in Australia, worked in California. Did you work in Vancouver ever? Did you have a stay in Vancouver?
I never made it down there. I mean, we did some mocap work down there when I was with EA, and I went down there, and there's a lot of amazing people and some good friends of mine who worked on FIFA and other games down there.
Right.
But no, never made it out that way. I think I've been in search of colder and colder places to live. So it was Australia to California to Montreal. So I got some buddies at DICE who keep ringing up, so maybe that's the next stop. I should warn the family that we're going into the ice cave.
Just give us a sense of the experience level and also the reason why you wanted to build Typhoon, because you guys could have all just stayed in AAA and kept making AAA games.
Yeah, and it was and AAA. We worked on some huge titles. The other guys like Reed and Yassine had worked on games like Batman Arkham Origins and Batman Arkham Knight with Rocksteady. Back in the day, Reed was the original producer on the very first Splinter Cell. A lot of the guys then on the art team, everyone. I think if a game has come out of Montreal, most people, or someone on the team has touched it at some point or another. But you get to a point where you think, those teams are so big and there's so many, cooks in the kitchen that even if you're the creative director, you're spending a lot of your time in meetings and not really being hands-on with the project anymore. And so we had this opportunity to, February 2017 to start Typhoon, to hire a very small crew. We're only 25 people, of people like, as I've been saying, who've been around, but are still really passionate about making games and passionate about making something personal and trying to do something where we all really touched it. So when we ship it early next year, hopefully it's one of those games where, we can all say, I wrote the script, I directed the content, the level designers are building assets, the artists are building levels. It's something where we can really get back to the sort of core of game dev and allow people to have their hands deep in the game.
Well, what's cool about it is that you guys are all vets that have been in games for long enough to remember when games were just made with 25 people. And
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it a reflection and thinking that those were the most enjoyable times in your career and kind of wanting to go back to that?
I mean, there's definitely an awesome element in sort of getting down to a small group where you can get everyone in one meeting room and actually have a discussion about the game.
Sure.
And I haven't had a team this small probably since sort of 2001. Which is crazy, some of those Game Boy games I was mentioning. But the middleware and the technology and the engine technology today is just so powerful that the things you can do with 20 people compared to 20 years ago is night and day. So we can build a game and have something that feels robust and big and satisfying with a small team these days, which was just not possible when we started.
Awesome. Well, congrats on all the buzz on Journey to a Savage Planet coming out of E3. You're edging closer and closer to, I guess, alpha and getting this game into a lot of people's hands right now. How is the team doing? How is the morale? How are you guys feeling about the progress on this game?
We made it. We sort of, when we started, we sat down and looked at a lot of the games we thought were amazing over the last X years, and you look at your Half-Lives, or even last year we talked about Batman, Arkham Asylum, and they all seem to have this magical extra year at the end for different reasons. Gabe Newell bought the extra year on Half-Life 1. The movie moved a bit on Batman and gave him extra time. Blizzard, Nintendo, these companies that continually put out great work somehow found that extra time at the end. So we thought, well, we're never going to get that. No one's going to give it to us. So how do we bake it into our schedule? So we actually hit alpha last Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty amazing. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was a pretty ropey alpha, I won't lie.
Yeah.
But you could play the game completely end to end. And it allowed us to sit down as a team and talk about it earnestly and say what was working, what wasn't working, what elements of the sort of world story had been dropped and we needed to find a way to pick up. There were all kinds of, good discussions that kicked off and allowed the team to have a shared understanding of where we were. So we've been iterating on that, all this year. And by iterating, sometimes I mean completely redoing. But the team has been able, therefore, not to crunch like crazy, which I think is super important for a healthy company.
Right.
And we're coming up on a much stronger beta, which is probably like the third time we've rebuilt literally everything in the game. So I think people are sick of redoing the same stuff over and over. Iteration sounds like an exciting thing as long as someone else is doing it. It's getting better and better.
That's awesome. Now, you guys have a lot of experience in open world action adventure games, and that's what this game is sort of described as. But the games that you've worked on, like Assassins and Batman Arkham Origins, they're incredibly complex games with lots of really deep systems, but they're also incredibly accessible. And is that something that is kind of key to the way that you guys are building Journey to a Savage Planet?
Yeah, we definitely want it to be accessible. We want it to be, the games you work on start to sort of infect your life a little bit. So if you're making something dark and grim, you start to think, darkly and grimly about things. So we wanted this first one. It's hard enough setting up the company and hard enough making any game. So we wanted to be optimistic and upbeat and colorful. And that leads to a much more accessible game. So it's an all ages experience, but by no means a childish experience. And we're trying to get like you said, some depth of systems, and also to bring a sense of humor back to the open world.
Awesome. Are we just landing on one Savage Planet in the game, or are we going to continue journeying to different Savage Planets?
First up, there's just one. It's bespoke. It's hand-built. It was another thing. I worked on Spore.
It's pretty good that you guys built a planet, let's be honest.
Yes.
Not easy to do.
And it's a unique planet, so it's not an entire world. But I want no spoilers at this early stage. But I did my time in the algorithmic trenches, designing games on Spore, and towards the end of it, you start to think you're going to make infinite content with algorithms. But I started to feel like you made, and my old colleague Kate Compton said, you make infinite oatmeal. So you have as much gray gruel as you can possibly build. So we wanted to hand build this. So if you climb a mountain on Savage Planet, you will find a note handwritten by a level artist just for you. So everything is hand built and hand placed. So just one planet though.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And then from what I've played and what I've seen so far, it looks like it could be a little bit lonely for a while. Are you kind of on your own, or are you going to encounter a lot of other quirky characters?
Yeah, and one thing about, like having your budget smashed after leaving AAA Studios is you realize you don't want to go head-to-head with any features that cost a lot of money the last time. So
yeah.
There is no intelligent life to be discovered on the Savage Planet. It's all, wild and wacky creatures, flora and fauna, and sort of physical challenges for the player to overcome. But there is a deeper mystery there. As soon as you arrive, it's not really spoiling anything, but you notice there's an enormous tower in the distance, and the planet was supposed to have no intelligent life. But part of the mystery is what is in it, who was there, are they still there, and what does it mean?
That's awesome. Well, since you guys hit alpha and you're rolling towards beta, and the release date is going to be kind of early in 2020, what happens now for you as a creative director? Are you already sort of establishing sequel stuff? Are you thinking of another game for Typhoon? What are you guys kind of working on?
I'm sure if Reed was here, he would tell you he's trying desperately to kick me out of the office. But I know there's still a lot of it's for me, it's a fun period because you can sneak in all kinds of strange things, cool. So for example, again, not spoiling anything, but on your ship that you need to keep coming back to in the world, you have your own computer, and it was important for me that as Kindred's the fourth best, this computer behaved like a Windows 95 PC that needs a good defragging. So making sure that the sounds of this computer and the look of it was right. So all these fun little tweaks that we can put in. At this point, we're still there, but very soon, yeah.
You're in an interesting stage here because you're defining not just your game, but a little bit of what the public is going to know about your studio as well, right? There's a lot of, I hate to use pressure, but there's a lot of expectation, I guess, to build something really special out of the gate.
Yeah, I think, it's a new IP from a new studio, and we get exactly one shot at it, so if it comes off, we'll get to keep going. And if it struggles, then that's gonna be a hard, something. It's gonna be hard to overcome that, I think. So yeah, the team is definitely feeling the pressure at the moment, but there's a good vibe in the office, and I think people are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And we had playtest this weekend, and people were laughing as they played. So we're quietly confident.
Awesome. We're shooting this at the Vancouver Film School, and there are students that are going to the school here right now from all kinds of disciplines. Acting students, or anybody in visual effects or anything like that right now? Games? You're in visual effects? So your job has allowed you to hire from all of these different disciplines. What would you say to people about video games and about, let's say, talking to an actor or wanting to be involved in video games? What would you say to them?
I think it's a great decision because the business is growing relentlessly, and there's a lot of work in there, and there's a lot of work in fields. Virtually all the fields, have immense amounts of undiscovered country. That if you put your head down and think about it and think creatively about it, there's more room, I think, in video games than most other current art forms to find something special and find something unique. I've always thought of it as an medium. People say, it's like there's movie and TV and games. I don't think that's true. I think all of those sort of passive media, such as, TV and movies where you as an observer watch, and empathize, is very different to games. We can have all of those types of, you can make a video game opera. You can make a video game, Netflix, so you can make a podcast in a game, but as long as it's interactive, it's a completely different field. So I think there's so much room. That it's a great place to be looking for work in the near future.
Awesome. Well, you can expect all of these people to show up at your door in Montreal, Alex.
They're more than welcome.
That is fantastic. When are we going to, I guess, see the next stage of the game? Do you guys have a kind of is there going to be a public beta, or is there going to be, what are you guys planning?
We're heading off to Germany in a couple of next month, I think. I'm losing track of time. In August, we're heading off to Germany for Gamescom. So we'll be doing a big series of announcements of the last big sort of features and systems in the game, and getting a whole lot of the European press and maybe some players in there to give it a shot too.
Fantastic. Well, I wish you all the best of luck with this game. I'm dying to play the game when you guys are ready to send out review codes. And thank you for joining us, Alex. And I'm glad the internet held out. Alex Hutchinson. Woo!
Thank you.
All right.